From Latrobe Motorsports Studios, this is Ride Along with Howie from the fast half-mile track at Latrobe Speedway, where it's grassroots racing at its finest. Here's Howie.
Race fans, who's ready to go for a ride? It's Ride Along with Howie, sponsored by Joe's Body Shop and Towing and S&B Promotion. And up first tonight, we're going to talk to the gentleman who picked up the win in the 305 sprints, Jacob Gomola. Jacob, congratulations on that win on Saturday night.
Thank you.
And that is your second career win at Latrobe, correct?
Yes.
And it was good to see you back. Last year, a little bit of a struggle. You were shut out of victory lane last year. You guys made some switches over the season, and man, that was one fast hot rod you had there Saturday night.
Yeah, we struggled last year with shocks. The shock packages wasn't working for us. I tried to make a year work for 2 years, and it just everybody told me I was nuts for trying to make it work for that long. So we went back to what we knew, and it seemed to work out really well.
Now, how did that car feel compared to the last time you won at Latrobe?
Pretty comparable. Car kind of drove itself. It was nice. We used the same notebook, but didn't use the same notebook. The last time we were in a J&J with Penske shocks, and this time we were in a Triple X with CSI shocks, and it was close, but not the same. But I actually like this car a lot more.
What are some of the differences between the Triple X chassis and the J&J chassis?
J&J chassis, a little stiffer, a little tighter car. The Triple X seems to be more free. I actually ran a Triple X probably 6 years ago, and then we got onto the Mach 1s pretty heavy for a while, and then we switched over for the J&Js for a year, and then this year I actually got a deal on the Triple X chassis, so we went back to the Triple X. And so far we've been pretty fast out of the gate, just haven't had as much success as we've wanted, but we also changed engines, motors, and engines, chassis, and shocks. So kind of hard to use any of the notes we used to have.
Now, one thing about you, you're a relatively tall driver. Do you guys have to do anything different to these cars? I know in late models they make a tall cage. Do they do that in sprint cars?
Yeah, so we run a 2-inch taller cage with the A-frame back. I should have played basketball instead of running a sprint car. Probably would have been a lot better financially too. But no, 2-inch taller cages, it helps a lot, especially when you move the A-frame back. It gains you another inch for your knees, and it's still pretty tight in there.
And you're tall and lanky. You're not tall and chubby.
No, just very lengthy.
And what were one of the things that took you to a sprint car division versus a late model?
I've always just liked sprint cars. I started racing go-karts when I was 5, and then we went from go-karts to micros, and then obviously everybody that's in a micro is like they want to go sprint car racing. And I got the opportunity to run a 305 one night for a guy at the very end of the season at Lernerville about 12 years ago. And we ended up buying that car that following season, and we ran it, and just been doing it ever since.
Now, you run in what's called the 305 class. What is the difference between that and a World of Outlaws sprint car?
The motor size. That's basically the only real big difference. We have 305 cubic inch. We're about 500 horse. World of Outlaw cars, they're 410 cubic inch. They're 900 plus for horsepower.
What attracted you? You mentioned you ran the micros, and it was kind of a natural progression into the sprint cars. But you're from up by Titusville, not in Titusville, but you think of Titusville area and racing, the Blair family jumps out. What made you decide to go into the micro sprints versus, coming out of the go-karts versus a car?
Actually, when I was growing up, we lived in Seneca, so Sportsman Speedway used to be right down the road. So it was 10 minutes for us to get to Sportsman, and we jumped into the micro division because they used to run 270s back then weekly. So it was close. We could run Deerfield or Blanket Hill, and then we could go to Knox on Sundays and run a micro sprint.
Now, when you say 270, is that a 270 cubic inch motor or?
270 cc, so it's a CR250 dirt bike motor. They either bore or stroke them out to make 270 cc. They were a lot of fun, but very finicky with fueling and stuff like that.
How about the 305s? Are they finicky, or are they pretty much a bulletproof motor?
They're fairly bulletproof. They're a lot less maintenance than a 410. 410s are pretty finicky on the fueling. Some of the 305s are pretty finicky too. You want your fueling to be right there too. But obviously the cost. I mean, we build our own 305 motors, so I mean, I think we have like 10, 12 grand into our motor. So it's a good bit cheaper than going to run a 410 at 30 or 40,000.
Now, you've run throughout the United States with the sprint cars. Obviously, you made a name for yourself in Pennsylvania. Where else have you raced the 305 sprints?
So we try to go to Nebraska every season for the RaceSaver Nationals. Sometimes we have good luck out there, sometimes we don't. But I mean, that's 120 of the best 305s in the country. We've been to Missouri. We go to North Carolina. We went to North Carolina at the beginning of this season. We went down to Port Royal at the beginning of this season. We try to run Ohio every once in a while. We don't get out there as much as we'd like to. We're actually probably going to hit Bloomington this year. That'll be a first for me.
Is that in Indiana?
Yeah. Yep. So, and then we might try to hit a few more shows here and there. I'd like to one of these days get down to Texas and run with those guys, but it's a lot of traveling real early in the season.
Now with the sprint car, you guys, that top wing's adjustable. How hard is it to be going down Latrobe straightaway and trying to adjust a wing?
So the 305s are actually fixed.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. There's you can slide them into pits, but you can't slide them in the car. With the little bit of 410 experience that I have, it's actually kind of like second nature. It's like pulling a tear off. You don't even really notice you're doing it. But
and you've won before on little tracks, and you've won at Latrobe, which I guess is one of the bigger tracks that you guys run on. As a driver, what is your forte? Do you like the greater speed, or do you like the short track where, I mean, you can never get physical in a sprint car because of the open wheels, but
yeah,
you can do more slide jobs, I guess, easier.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer little tracks. I like running it like Clinton County and stuff like that. But the big tracks are also fun. But kind of once you get used to the speed, it's not much of a wow factor anymore. It's just kind of sit in there and drive. The little tracks, you can really slice and dice with people, but I mean, you end up tearing up a lot more equipment on a little track. So it is kind of nice going to like Port or Latrobe or even Tri-City where you're big, you got lots of room. You don't normally tear up as much equipment there.
Now, being in a sprint car, there is a cage around you, but the motor is what, about 8 inches in front of you? Is that about a good estimate?
About 3 inches off your toes, maybe.
Okay, sorry.
No, here, yeah.
So, have you ever got kind of nervous being in a sprint car? You ever flipped one?
I've flipped my fair share. I've taken a few ambulance rides, spent some nights in the trauma center. It's been last year. I rung my bell pretty good at Lernerville. Wasn't that bad of a flip, but the impact was all on the cage. We ended up bending the cage up pretty good on the back side of the cage. And when you take some cage hits, it rings your bell pretty good. As long as you hit the wing on top and start crushing that first, it's kind of like a big pillow, and it takes some of the real bad blows out of it, I guess.
They always say it when you see a car hit a wall and all those parts are exploding off, that's actually a good thing because it's basically energy getting released from the accident. It's when you hit them solid and nothing comes off. Those are the bad hits, right?
Yeah. When you take a couple good hits to the chassis and nothing moves around too much, those ones hurt. I mean, last year I hurt my back pretty good. Not bad enough that I didn't stay out of it very long when we were back in it the next night, but it's one of those deals.
Now, this is your second season. You picked up a ride for 2022. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Yep.
You want to tell us about that? And it's the first time you got the new ride into Victory Lane?
So I assembled a team for Michael Beekner. He contacted me through the winter there, and he wanted me to put a team together for him, and I was like, okay. He said, I'm going to drive, and I was like, okay. And I put some stuff together for him. We took him to a practice, and he didn't like it. He said he really didn't enjoy it that much, and it kind of got let go, pushed aside for a couple of days, and then he contacted me, and we just put a car together. We ran one night, and he contacted me and he says, you just want to drive for me this year? I was like, well, so I just put a new car together, but we'll put it off to the side and run his stuff for a little bit and see how it goes. And I think it was like our second night out. We put that thing in Victory Lane at Mercer, and Michael was like on cloud nine. It just kind of clicked from there on out. We struggled a little bit. Once again, we were fighting with shock issues and stuff, and I think we found Victory Lane one more time last year. And we didn't have a terrible season, but we didn't have a great season. We won the Allegheny points, but we got some good momentum going into this season. We also I moved from my race shop down to his, so that took some time that we could have spent working on the cars and stuff like that. So hopefully this season's a little bit more organized and better put together.
Now, do you still have your car, or did you end up selling the one that you built for last year?
No, actually, I sold pretty much all my chassis. I kept all the bolt-on parts. I actually sold my hauler this past year. Kind of just liquidated some of my equipment just because it's no sense leaving it sit. So I still have a lot of my stuff, but I don't have everything I used to have.
Now, how did you get involved in racing? Did your family race, or?
I was in Boy Scouts, and my dad could never take me to any of the meets. So he said, we'll just get a go-kart and we'll go racing on the weekend. So that was when I was 5, and here we are 22 years later, still racing.
So it wasn't like your dad was into racing before or anything like that?
Nope. We just kind of got into it and started.
And your family's involved with the Allegheny 305 series?
Yeah. Yep. I'm actually the race director for that. I started that series 7 years ago when the open 305s were around. They started to die off, so I started a RaceSaver deal, and it's slowly been picking up. This year seems like it's going to be the best year so far, so I'm excited for all the new rookies to come on, and we'll hopefully have a pretty good following this year.
Now, your car number 4, where did that come from?
So when I was young, probably right around the go-kart days, even a little bit before, when I could walk, when I started to be able to walk, we used to go to Tri-City and watch Jason Jacoby. Jason Jacoby's number was always 4J. So he ran a sprint car, and when I started racing go-karts, I just picked up the 4J number and started running, and still have it till today. Michael was fortunate enough to let me keep the number to run his stuff also.
So you were the fortunate one there.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, what does this season hold for you? Are you going to go after another Allegheny 305 championship, or do you guys want to try to move up to do some 410 stuff?
We're going to go after another championship this year. We talked about running for national points also. It's kind of a tough deal. We're going to just see how the year plays out. If we win, we win. If not, it is what it is. But we're going to go after Allegheny. We're going to go after Mercer's points, and we're going to go after Latrobe points. I think we might try to go after Clinton County points also if the schedule works out as the way it looks. So we got a pretty busy race season. I think last time I looked, we had 47 races on the schedule. So next year we might do a little bit more racing. And
let's not forget, you got a wedding coming up this year too.
Yep. Yeah, it takes a weekend away, so we're not allowed to spend that at the racetrack. So
I tried, man. I was going to go get ordained and everything.
Yeah, she's not about it. Not about it.
While we have a chance, let's go ahead and talk about the people, the marketing partners, and everybody who makes your racing possible.
So SCI came on last year. Michael brought them on. Stevenson Equipment, I guess. They've been very, very good to us. Warren Diesel Injection. Obviously, Michael's two businesses. He has Michael Beekner Contracting, and he has MCB Trucking. Knox Raceway came on, I think, 2 races ago. Perskowski Trucking. Showtime Designs, one that does all the graphics on the cars, keeps us looking good. Highland Equipment and Sales. 84 Lumber. Schaefer Racing Oil. Mark McGyver actually just lives right down the road from me, and he hooks us up with a lot of oil throughout the year and different things, different products to try. We switched over to Wing Dynamics this year. They've been very good to us.
Is that Jeff Ryan?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's weird. A late model guy builds sprint car wings, but it is what it is.
I talked to him about that. You know why he did that? This way, none of his customers could get mad at him. Oh, you passed me on the track. You had an advantage. He said, I'm going to go run late models. Don't have to do that.
Yeah, he knew where the money was too, because sprint car guys are always crushing wings. So that was probably a good choice.
And you still have Knock Bakery?
We don't have Knox Bakery anymore. It's still on my suit. We're still waiting on a new suit to come in. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks here. No, you're good. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks here, we'll have that new K1 suit from Kevin Nelson. We'll be looking good.
And what about the crew, the family, and everybody who gives all they can so you could go out there and turn some
Yeah. There's a lot involved. We spend 2 nights a week down at the shop, as long as we don't tear nothing up. And Laurel cleans the truck and trailer and the toter out. And normally it's me and Chase working on the car and washing the truck and trailer. Michael helps when he can. He's obviously a very busy guy. Michael's dad, Dan, he spends a lot of time in the garage I think he's 78 or 79 years old. He could put Chase to shame every day. So he loves to stay busy.
Now, one more question. Is it better to drive for yourself or to have a ride?
They both have their perks. So far, like I said, I've been very, very fortunate in this ride. Michael kind of just gave me the reins and said, run it like it's your own and let's just make the best of it. So I think the ride that I'm currently in is probably the best fit and probably the best option to have for a ride. Like I said, because I make the calls. If I want to go racing tonight, we're going racing. If I don't want to go racing, we don't go racing. So
basically, you have the best of both worlds. You have the final say and somebody else paying the bills.
Yeah. As long as we all enjoy it and have fun at the end of the day, that's kind of our main goal. And if we stop having fun, we'll have to reevaluate and see what the next move is.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you going for a ride. And race fans, be sure to keep your eyes on that Flying 4J. The second most famous racer from the Titusville area is Jacob Gomola, pilot of the 4J. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on here.
Thank you. Race fans, it's time to interview our second guest of the night. He picked up a career first in the modified 4-cylinder division at Latrobe Speedway. He's also the 2022 Roaring Knob 4-cylinder champion. This is Colton McNaney. Colton, congratulations, and welcome back to Ride Along.
Thanks, Howie. Thanks for having me.
Hey, that car was on a rail Saturday night, and, man, it's hard to believe it's your third year of racing and your first win at Latrobe.
Yeah, we've been plucking away at it, and it all finally came together and worked out for us.
Now, we talked last year. We had you as a guest on the Ride Along right about this time, I believe. To start off the year, man, this year and last year, the car's just very consistent, very fast. Now, this isn't the same car as last year, is it?
No, this is all fresh build.
And what did you do with the car from last year?
It ended up getting scrapped.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, it had there was a little bit of rust on the rear axle, and it was starting to get a little bit farther along than we want to keep it around. So
Now, do you enjoy the build process over the winter?
yeah, a lot. It keeps us busy and out of trouble for sure.
Do you like that better than racing or racing a car? Or
It's all kind of part of it. You spend 6 months building it, and then you spend 6 months beating it up.
it's a good way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in racing?
I've been to a dirt track a few times with my family, and then me and my buddies hauled scrap to the scrapyard one time, and we were eating afterwards and saw a Cobalt for sale and picked it up and started dirt track racing.
Do you enjoy it? I mean,
Oh yeah, it's a blast. It brings us all together. Really, I don't know what I would do without racing. I couldn't imagine what I would do without racing. It brings us all together as a whole.
and the color scheme. You know, you're new to racing. Green is not really a color looked upon with a lot of love in racing. If you're superstitious,
Yeah, no, we didn't know anything about that, and it was just my favorite color, and that's how it came about.
now you've earned the nickname Cobalt Cowboy. Is that because if there are cobalts around, you're lassoing them up?
Yeah, pretty much. My buddy started calling me that last year when we were running 2 nights a week and busying around and running short tracks and just wrangling the cobalts.
What do you like better, the short track or the big track?
I enjoy short track racing a lot. It's a lot more intense all the way around the track, whereas like bigger tracks, it's more in the corner. I mean, there's sometimes some straightaway action, but the short tracks, you got to be up on the wheel 100%. There's no room for error.
What's the plan for this year? Are you going to focus on trying to get the championship at Latrobe?
Yeah, that's what we're focusing on. Latrobe mainly. I mean, rainouts and whatnot, we may end up somewhere else, but the car is structured around Latrobe this year.
Now, from the first car you built to the third one, have you, like, not giving away any secrets, but you learned a lot about building them? Like,
Yes.
looking at that first one, it's like,
Oh,
God,
yeah.
what were we
I
thinking?
think that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's you just learn and you see stuff on other people's cars that is smart. I mean, sometimes it's just, wow, that makes sense, you know, and it just all. I mean, next year, like if we build another one, it'll be probably completely different, just like this one is to the last two.
But you're the type of all three of your cars have been two-door Cobalts.
Yep. Yeah, we've had the chance to snag up a couple 4-doors, but we've never gotten to mess with them yet. So we may try one. But
What are some of the differences? I mean, the door panels.
yeah, so supposedly the wheelbase is the same, but the doors are obviously shorter on a 4-door, and
You got that pillar
right, and the pillar. So once
make it stiffer.
I don't really know, to be honest. I know a lot of people cut the pillar out to open the driver opening up, but we would honestly have to get one and set it on a scale, to be honest, to see what they match up.
Now, you mentioned you guys went scrapping and then went to lunch afterwards, and that's how the racing came about. Did you think you'd be this far into it 3 years later?
No way. It started out as something for us to do, and now it is what we do. There's nothing much else we do. So.
What do you enjoy most? The competition on the track, the camaraderie in the pits, the shop time. Is there any aspect of the racing that?
Pretty much all of it. I mean, the racing is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun for all of us. My friends in the bleachers are all getting excited and whatnot. But I mean, it's everything. The family you make at the track, and shop time with your friends, and my dad helps us out a lot. And just good for all of us, really. I mean, it's a blast.
And your dad started racing some too.
Yeah, he bought a pure stock last year, S10, and messed around with it a little bit. But we had some motor problems, and then he just bought a house this year, so he's taking a year off and see what comes of it.
You think he'll be a Cobalt Cowboy like you, or?
I don't know. We talked about getting him a stock class car, but he's just so busy with his new house. We'll see what we can talk him into next year.
Now, do you have any plans of moving up? Or
not particularly. I'm happy with where we're at. No one has really mention that they're not. So we're having a blast where we're at. So
What enticed you to the front wheel drive class?
when we were scrapping that day, that was the car that was for sale.
Okay.
And that's what we ended up with, and then we just grew into it.
Now, do you guys do all the setup work yourself, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a little bit of help at the beginning, but a lot of it was trial and error. Trying different things and switching stuff. And
What about motors?
motors, yeah. So we used to use junkyard motors and not touch them, and then we blew that one up last year in hot laps. And
I remember that we were picking up
pieces
on the track.
Yeah, that motor was tired. It didn't know us anything. That was that motor's second season, and then we did a little different this year. We freshened the bottom end and just did like preventative maintenance on it. But it's healthy now, so hopefully it stays that way.
So then this motor's on its second.
No, this is its first year.
What about the motor? Okay, and you had a different motor to finish out last year.
Yeah. That one's under the bench as a spare because we didn't do anything to that one either.
Sometimes you run them till they blow, and then you just go get another one.
Exactly. Yeah, that's about it.
Now, some of the tracks you competed at include Lernerville Speedway, Latrobe Speedway, Marion Center Speedway.
Yeah. Roaring Knob, Dog Hollow, Bedford. I think that's about it. I think we ended up doing like 6 tracks last year.
And your favorite, Latrobe?
Yeah. Big track for sure. Latrobe is definitely my favorite. Short track wise, I enjoy Roaring Knob a lot. I have to keep myself from getting up there this year because it's hard on my motors and the chassis. But you
figure it'd be easier because it's a shorter track.
Yeah, the way everything winds down to it is it's a lot more RPM, a lot more tire speed. Everything's spinning faster.
How hard was it to try to? I know, like a lot of guys say, you got to match the tires to the transmission of the car.
Yeah, so we had to do a lot of learning of that last year. Our first year, our car was an automatic, so we kind of just found something that worked, and we were still learning, and so we just stuck with it. Last year, I probably bought, I don't know, close to 12 sets of tires, trying to get down to where we ended up. And then this year we're on something totally different. So it's all just keep poking away and trying stuff.
Do you enjoy the experimenting, or?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see what such a little adjustment will do to a 2,200 pound machine.
And any of your friends want to jump behind the wheel, or?
They seem to enjoy spending my money more than spending their own. But I love it. I mean, it's great. We have a lot of fun.
Now you have 2 career wins at Roaring Knob, 1 at Latrobe.
I have 3 at Roaring Knob last year, and then.
So this was your 4th career win.
Yeah. Yes, we had 3 at the Knob last year and got the championship, and then this year Latrobe was the first one.
Is it easier to drive a bigger track versus the smaller track?
I wouldn't say it's easy, but I would say that you have a lot more time to make a decision. That's what I would say. There's the difference between a short track and a big track.
Now you're number 51. Where did that come from?
It was my high school football number, and then it also turns out to be the exit I live off of right now. So it ended up being more than we thought, but it was just a number that I had on a jersey that was given to me in high school for football. I didn't even pick it then, but it just kind of stuck with us.
And the green and black, you're going to stick with your colors, or?
Yeah, we were actually just talking on Sunday morning about how we were going to outdo ourselves with the paint scheme and whatnot next year, and we're racking our brains already. But this car turned out pretty top notch. So.
And who did your decals this year?
Blazevich Racing Decals.
Is that who's done them in the past, or?
No, my wife and her friends have made them in the past, and we stepped out on a limb and pretty much gave Mike all of our sponsors over at Blazevich, and he took the reins, and we just told him what we wanted, and that's how it ended up.
The bottom layer of the wrap, what is that? Is that like carbon, meant to look like carbon fiber?
Digital camo.
Digital
camo, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That way your competitors can't see you.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah. The bright green gives it away, but the rest of it hides.
And we talked about you're leading the points second year in a row coming early in the season. Do you point race, or you just want to go and let the points fall where they fall?
We try not to pay attention to it, but last year we kind of went full bore on the points race, and we had the lead at Latrobe until I had a fuel pump burn up one night, and we missed the feature, and that set us back to second. And then another night I got wrecked out, and it just tumbled back from there. But we ended up wrestling our way back up to third. But this year we're focusing on Latrobe as our main focus, and whatever we can get, we'll be happy with. And if it's more than we expect, then that's even better.
Keep on showing improvement every year. And what's it like to get, you want to build a car for your dad, and it's kind of weird. Normally the father's the one telling the son,
Yeah.
with all the experience. When it comes to the 4-cylinders, your dad doesn't have the experience.
Right.
So how's it going to be to coach your dad?
We'll give him a little bit. We're definitely not going to make him learn a little bit on his own, because it's just the fun of it. But we can definitely point him in the right direction.
Would you try possibly get behind the wheel if it's pure stock, or?
I would do it. Yeah. I don't know if it would suck me in right away, but I would try it out.
How many races did it take you to get hooked on racing, driving?
Probably like after the third or fourth race in my first season, we were pretty sucked in. There was no turning back.
And we talked before the future. You want to stay with the 4 cylinders. And it seems like a lot of people do that. And it's a great class. It's an affordable class.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you look like the Grubbs, the Kofflers. I talked to Paul, and he even told me they had opportunities to move up with teams, but they just really enjoy that 4-cylinder class. And, you go into the pure stocks and the Chargers, you can't really build those cars yourself anymore. You almost have to buy a fabricated car.
If you want to be competitive, you have to spend a pretty penny to just anything from chassis. You can buy $1,000 shock package, or you can spend $4,000 on a shock package. It's all how much you want to spend, pretty much.
How intimidating was it when you're out with your buddies, you're scrapping, and it's like, hey, let's buy this car. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Get the car home, and then that roll cage and all this stuff starts showing up, and you're like, okay, what do we do now?
When we started tearing it apart, we were a little in over our heads, and then we kind of regrouped and just started picking away at it piece by piece, and we finished it the Saturday morning of the first practice I went to. The paint was still wet when we loaded it up.
How nervous were you getting behind the wheel of this thing that you and your buddies put together?
Yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking. Luckily, I have 2 good buddies that help me a lot. One of my buddies is a certified welder, so I trust all my cages. It's my life in his hands, and he knows what he's doing. And my other buddy helps me a lot with setup and motors, and we pretty much do it all. It's all.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about the family, the friends, the crew, the sponsors that make your racing possible. And one thing with you, it's not just you and your dad racing. Your mom and sisters, they're involved in their own way by sometimes singing the national anthem and that sort of stuff. So it's truly a family event when it comes to your family.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody's in. It's all we're all involved from nothing to all of it. It's great.
Oh, let's go ahead and thank the sponsors and the crew.
Yeah, let me find this list real quick. We filled the car up this year, and it's a lot to remember. So first we have Castle Service and Installation, and then RJ Staso Heating and Cooling, Alpha Motorsports, Pasternak Electric, Harris Auto, Eat My Pork, TRC Performance, American Demo, JSC Customs, the Veterans Club of Wino, and the Welcome Back podcast.
And who's been on there the longest?
Harris's, yeah. They've been there since day one, when we were scrap money racing, and they were there.
Well, congratulations again on that first win at Latrobe. I'm sure it won't be your last. And keep your eyes on the number 51, the McNaney Racing Chevrolet Cobalt, the Cobalt Cowboy, Colton McNaney. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, race fans, that's going to conclude another edition of Ride Along with Howie. For all the latest information on Latrobe Speedway, be sure to check out our website and Facebook page. Also, be sure to check out our Fan of the Week contest going on currently. We're taking random shots, putting up some people's pictures, and if you identify yourself, guess what? You're getting a free pass to Latrobe Speedway. And also, while we have a chance, we'd like to go ahead and thank our sponsors that include K2 Engineering, proud sponsor of the Crate Late Models. Joe's Body Shop and Towing, proud sponsors of the Pure Stocks and also of the Ride Along podcast. Specialty Metals, modified four-cylinder sponsor. Marilungo Disposal LLC, strictly stock four-cylinder sponsor. Dean Pollock, the sponsor of the Hobby Stocks. And Bowers Farms, for proud sponsors of the 305 Sprints. We'd also like to recognize track sponsors that include Latrobe Glass and Mirror, General Carbide, Bowman Plumbing, Garry's Auto Sales, Porta-John Rental Company, the Auto Tag Store, RPM, the official parts supplier of Latrobe Speedway, A1 Machine Shop and Performance, Seal Tite Paving, and DJS Swag for all your latest clothing needs. Hey, please support those who support racing. Big Block Modifieds coming this upcoming Saturday to Latrobe Speedway. We'll see you at the races.